So, are you too nice? And is it even possible to be too nice to people? Here are 7 signs that I think indicate that you are just being a little bit too nice. So, number 1 is that everybody seems to like you and gets along with you, and you want everybody to like you and get along with you. And the feeling alone or the thought alone that someone doesn't like you terrifies you, and you want to avoid that feeling at all costs. And I think this could be a sign that you are being a little bit too nice, because I think it's quite normal to just have some people that you don't really, vibe with, who are not your people, who has a different personality, who has different values than you do. I think that's a really normal thing, and it's a really normal thing that not everybody likes you and that you don't like everybody. And if it's so that you get along with just everyone and everyone likes you and thinks, you are so flexible and so chill and relaxed, it could be a sign that maybe you are accommodating just a little bit too much. This could be a sign that you're just a little bit too nice. And number 2 is that you say sorry a lot of the times. And this is something that I recognize also a lot. And actually one of my friends one time said it to me, and I still remember it, that we were walking down the street and I don't know, I just made a left turn while we had to make a right turn, and I walked in the wrong direction, and then he told me, no, we have to take a right, and immediately I apologized, like, oh, I'm so sorry, and then I walked the other direction. But then he told me, like, oh yeah, I noticed that you say sorry quite fast. And he also said that he noticed that it's more of a woman thing to do, and I don't know if that's true per se, but I think it could be true that we are being, just a little bit more apologetic than men, I think. Or it's being taught more when we were young that we have to be more accommodating to others, and making mistakes is just not a good thing. So I think that's a good thing to pay attention to. Of course, it's okay to say sorry once in a while, but don't make it a kind of automatic thing that you just say sorry for everything that you do wrong or for every minor thing that doesn't go as planned. I think that's an important one. Don't make it a habit in saying sorry. Of course, saying sorry is a good thing, but don't make it something that you just say every time that something goes wrong. Don't make it something that you say 50 times a day. And number 3 is you spend a lot of time doing things that you don't like. And that could be because you don't say no, or you don't say no a lot. So you end up in a lot of situations doing things that you don't really like, you don't really want to do, but you just felt really bad saying no. So you just agreed with doing things that, aren't just not for you. And I think this could be a sign that you're just being a little bit too nice. And number 4 is that you almost never have a discussion with someone, or a disagreement, or just an argument with someone. This again could come across as that you are just being super friendly and super chill and just go with the flow and very relaxed. But I don't think it's a really good thing that you're always just agreeing with everything that's going on and with everything that someone has to say. I think it's a good thing that sometimes there is a disagreement and that you say that you don't feel the same way, or that you see it otherwise. So if this is the case, if you don't ever have a disagreement, or when you notice that you avoid this, or you avoid confrontation at all costs, that this could be a sign that you are being just a little bit too nice. And number 5 is that you are always worried if you might have upset someone with what you've said or what you've done. So you tend to overanalyze conversations and overthink everything that you've said, and you're really worried that something that you've said might come across as rude, or you might upset someone else. Well, of course you didn't want that, but Yeah, if you notice that you do that a lot, so you overanalyze a lot and you overthink a lot after a conversation with someone, that this could be a sign that you're just being a little bit too nice. And number six is that when you do set a boundary with someone, you tend to feel really guilty. And if this happens every time you do that, so every time you set a boundary, every time you say no, that this feeling of guilt comes up, and this feeling is really strong and it lingers like quite long, then this could be a sign that you're just being a little bit too nice. And number seven is if you're being a little bit too nice, it can happen that you attract a lot of needy people or just shitty people into your life who take advantage of your niceness. So they can be drawn to you being really nice and really kind. And shitty people tend to take advantage of this. So if you sometimes wondered why there are a lot of needy people in your life or a lot of shitty people who take advantage of you being really nice, this could be a sign then that you are being just a little bit too nice, and that setting boundaries is really, really important, and that you haven't done that enough. So those people, they tend to be in your life for way too long, taking advantage of you being a really nice person. So this doesn't mean that you should be a bitch or an asshole, but it does mean that if you do recognize all of those signs, that it could be that you're just being a little bit of a pushover. But I think what can happen is when you're too nice is that you lose your identity, because you're always like accommodating to others and always worrying not upsetting others and always wanting to please other people and being agreeable and being likable. But I think what happens then is that you are just losing that thing that makes you you. And it's also unhealthy because it means that you don't listen to what you want and what your needs are, and it means that in the end, a lot of your needs are being unmet, and a lot of the emotions that you're feeling are just like bottled up inside. And I think that's not a healthy thing. And it's not a good thing to keep that all inside and all to yourself and always just being agreeable, while that's impossible to agree with everything all of the time. And maybe it's because you are raised to being nice, to be polite and to not upset others. And of course there's nothing wrong with that, but it just doesn't have to be at your own expense. And of course finding that balance is quite hard, but I do think we have to learn with the feeling that comes with upsetting others. So we a lot of the times try to avoid feeling guilty, and we avoid the feeling of letting other people down, because of course that's not a really nice feeling. But I think we have to practice with that feeling. So we have to practice in sometimes letting other people down, and sometimes with upsetting other people, and sometimes also with other people not liking us. That's a really normal thing. And when we avoid that all of our lives, that feeling can be really awful. So when we do feel guilty, that's just something that we don't want to feel. But I think that's something that we have to practice with. So we have to deal with that feeling of upsetting others, with letting them down, with feeling guilty, with receiving criticism, with not doing what they expect us to do, with not agreeing with them, with disappointing them. Because otherwise, what a life do we live if our only concern is to not let down other people?